Okay. All right. Well, let's see. We'll give them a minute.
Yeah. So welcome everyone. We will be waiting for a couple more minutes to get more attendees joined, and then we will get it started. And also, before we start, I wanted to just note that we are recording this session, so just so you know. And I think we have kind of all the participants joined, Lisa. So
Okay.
we probably can get it started.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
So yeah. So welcome everyone to this session. This is actually the last day of the conference. This is kind of sad to see it's ending, but we hope that you've enjoyed the conference so far. This is the session number 36 on parcels slash cadastral slash land records. My name is Mohsen Ahmedkhani. I'm a PhD student in geography, and I will be moderating this session. We'll be having Lisa Schaefer as our speaker. She's a geospatial data specialist and Provest and at Provest and Associates Incorporated. She's an expert in land records and parcel fabric platforms, and she will be talking about parcel fabric, what you need to know now. That's a pretty interesting topic. So she will be having 25 minutes to give her presentation, and then we will be having 5 minutes for Q&A. So since there's no other presentations in this session, we might be able to be a little bit more flexible and having a couple minute more times for time for the Q&A session. So with that, I would like to invite Lisa on the stage. So Lisa, feel free to share your screen, and yeah, the stage is yours.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, I will do that. Let's see. I'm going to start sharing. I didn't need the advanced sharing option. Just share my screen. Thank you. Okay, very good. All right, well, hello everyone, welcome. Like you said, unfortunately, it's the last day of the conference and we are wrapping things up, but definitely stick around for some of the award ceremony and things like that. So there'll be fun things even after this session. But yes, so today I definitely want to talk about parcel fabric, what you need to know now. Things have changed in the world of parcel fabric and will continue to change. So I want to make sure that we are keeping up with things and you're able to know what is going on now and see what things have been updated and potentially, you know, make you think about, do we need to make some updates, some upgrades? Do I need to make the leap into the parcel fabric if you're not there yet? Okay. To start, I just want to point out, and hopefully you can see it, and please let me know if not, but I want to make sure that in the chat, I did put all of the links that I'll be referencing today. Only look at the last 4. Before that, I put all 4 links in one item and it looked like one really long link, but I then separated them into 4 separate links for you. So just look at the last 4 in the chat there, and there are some links there for you. Okay, so yes.
Sorry for interrupting you, but I think you might need to send them again since people joined later.
Sounds great. That's right. You did say that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't follow instruction.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption, by the way.
That's all right. And on that note, that is excellent. I'm actually happy that you did. Just for everyone here, if you have questions, ask them anytime. Do not hesitate to ask a question, to pipe up and actually speak your question, or to put that question into a chat or into the Q&A. Be able to let us know and interact. If there's something that you need clarification while I'm talking about a particular topic, please just pipe up and ask. Hopefully you can unmute yourself if you're muted and be able to ask that question. So definitely just let me know if there's anything else that you need to be clarified, or if I'm wrong, please let me know if I'm wrong. As far as I know, everything I'll say today is correct. Okay, now I know some of you know who I am. Some of you may not, and that's obviously perfectly fine. We just haven't met yet. I generally tag myself as a parcel loving, puzzle solving Northern Minnesota gal, right? I also happen to be a mom to a sports loving teenage boy. So football, hockey, baseball are pretty much my life year round, and I love it. Wouldn't change anything about it. So, and as was pointed out, I mean, so I work at Pro West, and I've been there for 21 years. And so that means that in 21 years, I have run the gamut from AutoCAD, coverages, or MicroStation, I should say AutoCAD or MicroStation, coverages and shapefiles, geodatabase, and now Parcel Fabric. So the entire time I've been in, I'll say, the professional world, other than teaching, has been in land records. So I am still excited to be part of the land records community, and I'm always excited to see what's coming up and what's new in Parcel Fabric. So I like to share that information with everyone. I don't want anyone to be in the dark. I like to make sure that everyone is learning and keeping up with technology, because all the enhancements are only making things easier for us. So let's dive in a little bit, or a lot, actually. Let's dive in a lot. Okay, so what you need to know now. My plan is I want to talk about what are some of the latest updates, new capabilities, resources, and along the way, we're just going to sprinkle in some tips, some tricks. I'm going to do some talking in slides here first, and then I'm going to open up Pro and go look at some items in Pro and be able to show you those things. All right, so going on to the latest updates. First thing I want to do is I want to start with what hasn't changed. So what hasn't changed is the fact that we have both the option for single and enterprise environments for deployments. So there's still an enterprise deployment option. There's still a single user deployment option. So enterprise, obviously you would need to have the full enterprise and be able to work with that. Single user is going to be a file geodatabase. So with a file geodatabase, you do not need to have the full enterprise. However, that also means that any web and mobile client type of situation is not supported. In either case, you do still need to have standard or advanced. You cannot use a basic license to work with the Parcel Fabric. You do need a standard or advanced license to be able to do that. So that is information that has not changed. So that's good. Some things don't change, and that makes it easy on us. All right, so moving on to then, of course, things that have changed. All right, so we have Enterprise 10.9, yay, right? Which means we can upgrade things to Parcel Fabric version 4, double yay, woohoo! Which also then means we get to move into the upgrade our Pro release into either 2.7 or 2.8. So triple yay, right? What we need to do though is make sure that we are keeping things in sync. Okay. So Enterprise came out in May, right? But ArcGIS Pro 2.8.3, the latest patch, as of yesterday anyway, that came out in September. So we know that our Enterprise and our Pro and our Fabric versions are not always in sync as far as when Esri releases those. but it's on us then to make sure that we keep those in sync. And what I mean by that is keeping things, looking at the graphic here, keeping them in a single row. So it's going to basically be reading this table backwards. So let's go from the enterprise release and work backwards. So if you have enterprise 10.9 and you have that deployed, then yes, you can use Pro 2.7 or 2.8 and any patch beyond that. So 2.8.3 is fine. And you'll want to use that with your Fabric version 4. If you have 10.8.1, you do not have the ability to go to a Fabric version 4. You need to stay at Fabric version 3. And I will tell you, for best interaction, your best experience, you're going to want to stay at Pro 2.6, 2.6.7, 2.6.8, somewhere in there. And that is only going to be because those tools then are meant to work with your Enterprise 10.8.1 version. I know some folks have had their Fabric version 3, Enterprise 10.8.1, and they've upgraded their Pro. You may not see any problems, but I know that there are. If you get into some more advanced items, you may see some peculiar, you'll see some odd behavior. And if that happens, and if you were to call tech support, I will tell you the first line of defense is they're going to tell you to go back to 2.6. Okay, because 2.7, 2.8 were not meant to work with with 10.8.1. So that is going to be the first line of tech support you're going to get, is to make sure that everything is in sync. So if you upgrade your Pro to or your Pro beyond your enterprise level, just be aware that you may experience some odd behavior. Okay. Now you'd realize that you can turn off the auto check so that you're not tempted to upgrade your Pro. And if you're not aware of that, be aware of that, and I can show you where that is. And also the next release of Enterprise, I know a lot of folks don't like to go to the major release, like the 10.9, they're looking for the 10.9.1. We are expecting to see 10.9.1 before Thanksgiving. That might be a big ask, but right now I'm still crossing my fingers and hoping that that happens. All right, so now that we have that information available, what does that mean is supported now as far as additional deployment licensing? Because not everybody's using the same platform. So if you are a Postgres user, a Microsoft SQL Server version, if you are trying to do things in Azure, or if you are in Oracle version, all of those things are supported. But Oracle Cloud is still not supported. It hasn't been, it's still not. So that piece has not changed. But beware of any potential upgrades that you may need to do if you are Postgres, if you're using Azure or SQL. You might need some different versions going on there. I think most folks here are SQL, and so you'll see that that part has not changed. If you're still at the 2016 version, you're still being supported. If you upgrade beyond that, that is fine. Okay. But these are minimums for support. Okay. Where can we supply that? So Parcel Fabric is edited and can be deployed as a service, right? So we're editing via branch versioning, which is versioning for services. So where does that happen? So the Parcel Fabric service can be deployed in both the GIS Server Advanced environment as well as the ArcGIS Server Standard environment. So if you have either one of those, so I think most people might be in the Server Standard, but if you have gone Server Advanced, that's just fine. That should not affect your Parcel Fabric service and how you edit that. Okay. A couple things to keep in mind too, if you are going to put that website. Now that website is also one of those that's in the chat. But if you are thinking to run out, you're super excited now, you want to run out, you want to upgrade all your info. I think everybody has learned by now that you don't just run out and start pushing buttons and upgrade things. You want to make sure that you plan ahead. So that website is really just to get you to think about some of the things that you're going to have to you want to plan, you want to make sure that some things all happen at the same time. So if you upgrade your enterprise, you're going to want to upgrade your Pro, and then you're going to want to make sure you upgrade your Parcel Fabric version. So do them in the right order, plan ahead, and make sure that you're not affecting other services. Fantastic. A reminder, again, this is something that hasn't changed but has been enhanced, but a reminder that Parcel Fabric is capable of real-time updates. There are capabilities in there that I can run an update or a split, I can do a combine or a merge, I can put in a new plat, whatever it may be. I can make changes in the office to the data. And if I have my web apps and templates and solutions all pointing to that fabric, that same service, those updates are immediately available to the public or internal, wherever those services are going. So it can be and is published and consumed as a feature service. So if I have all of that same information being served that I am currently editing, that is done and can be pushed in real time. Now, I know a lot of folks have shied away from that real time simply because they don't want their solutions tying into the data that they are currently editing. It gives them a little bit of I'll say a safety net, so that if I were to put something out there, push something out that maybe wasn't quite right, I have an extra 5 minutes to go whoops and come back and correct it before anybody else is going to see it. So some folks have then opted for a near real time, which is then a nightly process. So instead of being specifically real time, it's going to be a nightly thing. So it's overnight. They have scripts that run or something to that effect, and then it's pushing it out. So it might be the difference between an internal server versus a web server, or just the fact that it's giving you a little bit of a safety net to catch any mistakes before it goes public. But just be aware that you do have the capability to do near real time or real time. All right. So some of the new capabilities, so those were updates. Let's go into some of the new capabilities that have come out. And I'm not looking at the 10.9 so much right now because I know most folks don't have that, but I do want you to be aware of what's available with, I'm sorry, Pro 2.8, not Pro 2.9. That is in beta. But Pro 2.7 and Pro 2.8 do rely on the 10.9 enterprise platform. They really need to start getting their numbers in sync. That would help us out. Okay, so new capability. There are several, and there's just a few that I want to point out because I have found them to be incredibly helpful. Attribute rules. The nice part is that with Pro 2.8, if you upgrade your fabric to the version 4 that goes along with that, Esri is shipping some attribute rules, and so they're built right in. Some of them, well, one in particular that has been a royal pain in our patoot over the last several versions, right, has been that must have a record. When we migrate data into the Parcel Fabric, especially if we're coming from an AutoCAD environment, maybe coverages, shapefiles, what have you, most of the time folks do not have in their attributes a known, let's say, deed number or the record or instrument of record from which that parcel was derived. So having that deed number, survey number, plat book, it could be a book and page, it could be a cabinet number, whatever that is. Most folks do not have that in their attributes. However, the Parcel Fabric in versions 1, 2, and 3 have a built-in Parcel Fabric rule for must have a record. So then if you run your validation, everything shows up in that corally red, ugly salmon color, right? And it gets annoying because you think your data is bad. It's not bad. It's just that what the fabric is expecting to see and what your data currently has for attributes don't match. So with version 4, it is no longer a parcel rule that is hard coded into the software. It is now an attribute rule that is then optional. You can remove that rule. So it's there, it's built in initially, but it is now a validation attribute rule, which you can then interact with. You can disable, remove altogether, whatever suits your needs. Okay. Another new capability is that you can have a full traverse report. So we've, prior to Fabric, and we use the traverse tool, we were able to see, as you can see in the graphic toward the bottom here, we were able to have that full traverse closure report. So misclosed distance, misclosed ratio, and then you could tell it which type of closure you wanted, compass, crandall, transit, whatever you're comfortable with. We also have the capability to tell it to, to enforce whatever we feel for our closure tolerance. So by default, it's going to come in at a foot, and then you can modify that. So if you want your closure to show you any mistakes beyond a quarter of a foot, or maybe your data is maybe not quite that precise and you're okay if it'll close it within 2 feet. You get to make your decision and make sure that your tolerances are being observed. Additionally, I can tell it to force close, which is then going to enforce whichever closure method I provide. And we are able to then, import and export traverse files just as we were able to do in versions past. Okay. So the full traverse closure report was not there before, but we do have that capability now. It's very nice. I can see how things are going to adjust before I apply that. Love that. For those of you currently in the Parcel Fabric in Pro, the heads up display where you're interacting with your records, there are some new options there that are very helpful. The first one of which it's actually the third one down, is actually activate the record of the selected feature. So if I do have something selected and I need to modify it or edit it or whatever, interact with it somehow, I don't need to go to my manage records pane. I don't need to search what's in my current view or look up a particular record. Sometimes you have to guess at what it is. If it's a deed number, I'm not going to know which one it is, but being able to just select that feature and then activate that record so I can make changes is fantastic. And then being able to interact with just my recently used records. So if I were to create a new record, create a new subdivision, and then go in from there and make changes and modifications, I can do that very quickly, easily, just go right back and forth. Some of the rest of them are pretty much the same, but at the very bottom, I can actually go into the properties of this particular record. Right from there, I don't need to, again, go to my manage records pane and access the properties. I can get to the properties of this particular record just right from the heads up display. So a few more options that are there, and I can interact with that a lot easier. All right. This next piece, data engineering, has been, to me, very exciting. It's not that you're engineering your data to do something different. It's that I now have the ability, especially if you are someone who has to provide maybe charts and graphs and things like that to a department head for a meeting, fantastic built-in capabilities right here for data engineering. I am able to show information or insights about my data for those folks who are they're not GIS ready. They're not coming in and using Esri software. So it's great that I can provide charts, graphs, and input that's going to allow the decision makers to make better decisions. So I'm going to show you an example of that when I open up Pro here, but so in this particular, what you're seeing here is that in my subdivisions, I can make a graph that shows just by plat type. I might, in this particular case, it looks like I have 6 unique values. So I might have 6 values in my domain or subtypes, and it's going to show me, in this particular case, what I've got data engineering going on here is just how many of each type do I see. So maybe I've got something going on at the board level for my county that says we're thinking about doing, let's see, we're thinking about bringing in an ordinance for, hey, we'll waive fees, recording fees for cemetery plats because we have a particular project. We want to bring in all those cemetery plats. So if anybody has those types of things, then we're going to waive fees. Well, if I look at my engineering, well, we only have 3 cemetery plats, not really going to be a major game changer here. Does it really need to be an ordinance? So it can help focus some of those decisions that might be being made at the board level, but you're able to then bring in something like this, where you're able to bring in charts, graphs, and be able to make those decisions more efficiently, more informed. So anyway, data engineering, fabulous. So if you're one of those who does, if you do need to share graphs and specific numbers and such, you have that ability very, very quickly without having to dig in and do it yourself, do it manually. And the last piece of new capability I want to touch on is that if you are also sharing your data and you're sharing it as layer packages, things like that, you have the ability now to just share schema only. So as an XML type of workspace, you don't have to share all the data. I know most of the time, if I'm working between different clients and they might be bordering each other and they want to have the same schema, they've both sent me all of their data. Well, I don't need the data, I need the schemas. And so now it's very nice that we can share just the schema part of things instead of sharing all the data. So instead of having, 2-3 gigabyte files, I can have very small files interact with the schemas very quickly without having to worry about interfering with the data itself. So just another piece there that if you are sharing data with other organizations who may just need to see if you've got a number field, a text field, how's it set up, what's your domain, things like that, you can very easily push that out and share that as just a schema without sharing the data. So very nice. Okay, so I want to jump real quickly over to Pro and show you a few things. I know I'm running out of time here very quick, but I just want to show you some of those items. So attribute rules here, we did talk about as a validation rule. This must have a record is sitting here. So it is not as it once was, where if you went into the properties of your fabric, there used to be another item here as a tab that would say parcel rules. That's no longer there. It is simply part of your attribute rules as a validation style, and it's going to have your must have a record, and it's all filled out. And when you have that, you do have the ability to then disable things, or you can then re-enable if it were disabled, or you could just remove it altogether. Okay. So that is attribute rules. If we were going to go, I'm going to go back to the map here and do a traverse, and I'm going to just do a very quick traverse here so I can set my start. I am going to tell it, I'm going to set my close as well. And let's just very quickly go draw something. And we'll go over here, say, whoops. Getting ahead of myself. Yes, let's go 50 feet that way too. And we'll go, sure, I'll go 50 feet. Now, as you can see at the bottom, my misclose distance right now is showing 50 feet. I have my misclose ratio. Closure method, snap last line to close. Okay, what that means, I have options here, right? As I've said, we still have our compass, our transit, our Crandall methods, but we also have the option to snap the last line to close. So if I have snap last line to close, I can see what it's going to do to that last segment. So instead of being at a 90-degree angle here, it's going to be at 45 because it's going to make this into a triangle by changing my last segment. If I were to say compass, okay, I can see what the residuals are going to be, what's going to change there. Transit, different things are going to happen there as well. And Crandall, what's going to happen that way. Okay, so I can see all of those before I hit adjust and make that final closure. So you have a lot of influence over what happens to your data. Okay, or I can just be smart and go and close it. That would be the right, better thing to do, or fill in the COGO, whatever it's meant to happen. So yes, you have a lot of influence over how your information, how your lines are going to close and how they're going to interact. Okay, I'm just going to cancel out of that. We're just going to go out. As far as my heads up display goes, I do have those other options here. So let me go ahead and I'm just going to select a particular feature. I've got a subdivision selected. So I can come over here and say activate the record of that selected feature, and it changed it over to Kinney's edition. If I were to select a different subdivision and activate that, now I can see that I have Glenwood City original plat here. Okay, so I can also then see what have I recently used. So I'm currently in Glenwood record. I can see I've used Kinney's. I can see that I was in Central Square CIC number 2. So I can very quickly jump back and forth. So I could go to Central Square CIC number 2. I could then zoom to that record. Fantastic. So if it was some things like, oh, somebody told me I made a mistake on the CIC, great. I can select it. It was something recent. I can zoom to it. I can come in here and immediately start making changes because that is my current record. So a lot of nice things to interact with very quickly without having to go to my manage records pane and go find it, search for it, and then zoom to it. Very simple. As far as data engineering goes, very easy to get to. I can do subdivision and go right into data engineering. There is another button up on the ribbon if you wanted to use that way to get to it. And as far as what you do with any one particular layer is completely up to you. What I've done here is all I did was I drug, whatever. I took plat type and I drug it in, okay? And from here, all I did, I can say calculate. It's gonna go through and calculate based on that one field. So if I have multiple fields, I can drag multiple fields in here that I wanna do some various data engineering to, and I can see that. I can then go ahead and open that bar chart and I can see how many of each style we have. And you can see that this original town site is highlighted simply because I do have a plat selected right now. So if I unselect, then that highlighting goes away. But so if there's anything I need to do, be like, well, maybe I need to break down the subdivisions into different types. So they're not just one, 347 of them, maybe I can do something there. Or maybe I need to reassess and go look because I know that there's more cemetery plats. Maybe they've been misflagged as just a subdivision. Data quality control. It's all in what you want to do and how you want to handle it. As far as the schema sharing, just point that out that I do have this particular layer highlighted. And if I just go to I'm in my share ribbon. If I go to my layer for share, right here is the package schema only option. So it's merely a click it on, click it off type of situation. And then you can go ahead and finish packaging once you do the analysis and such. But that is just a very simple checkbox that has been added. So I'm not sending all of the data, it's just the schema. Okay, so I just wanted to point those few things out there in Pro and give you guys just a little heads up as to what's there, what types of things you can see. And then the last item I want to share with you today are some resources if you're not familiar. There is the Esri community, which is specific to a Parcel Fabric. So it's a Parcel Fabric community. There's the Esri meetups that are still happening. If you have been in the Parcel Fabric, you've probably been aware of the Parcel meetups. And then just as far as an overview of Parcel Fabric in general, there's a website, and all three of these websites are in the chat. And it just gives you information to get to, again, the community, get to some of those workflows to get some more information. If you're not currently, I'll say, on that bandwagon, you have the ability to kind of dive in, do some research and see if this is going to work for your organization. So some of this is really just good places to start if you want some more information about the Parcel Fabric. So this particular website is the community, that first one on that resource page. The nice part about a lot of these is that you can subscribe. So you'll want to sign in, right? Make sure that you are looking at your account, but you can subscribe to certain parts of this entire community. So if there are blog posts or answers, new events, videos posted, anything like that, you're able to get that in your email and you're able to jump right in. So some of those things that come up, especially for Parcel Fabric, are videos. The videos include, and there we go. They're going to include here for Parcel Fabric anyway. I'm not sure about all communities, but we do have the ability to share all of the meetup videos. So if you're part of the meetup community, but you couldn't meet on that day when it was live, you can come and watch the recordings here. Additionally, especially Tim Hodson, Amir, sometimes Jason Camerano, they like to post quick videos, a 30-second demo to show the offset tool, a few minute demo showing some least squares. So these are fantastic to give you just little bits of information. They might not be included in a meetup. Maybe it's not something you want to wait for, but you can do a quick search and you can see all of these videos. You can also see events that are planned. So in this case, meetups that are planned. Oh, I've got too many things going on here, too many filters. So I can see some of our past events, what we've had, what's new in 2.8. There's a new one coming out, what's new in 2.9. That one is coming up. What's new, Parcel Fabric at 2.9 coming up December 1st. So again, and this is the meetup website. So we're able to see the events here as well, past and present, or I'm sorry, past and upcoming. And then if you are one of those who really wants to dive in and start thinking about more information about potentially either migrating or upgrading from an ArcMap fabric to a Pro fabric, or jumping on just a fabric bandwagon, you're able to get some more information right from just sort of the overview page of the Parcel fabric from Esri. Okay, and with that, I will say that that is where I'm ending today. We have a lot of information given out that was very quick, and I know I talk like an auctioneer when I get rolling, but I wanted to put all that information out there for you.
Well, yeah, thank you, Lisa, for your great presentation. Yes, we will be having a few more minutes for the questions if there is. So please feel free to throw your question into the chat box or Q&A box, or speak up them.
I was just that good, I tell you. Nobody has questions.
Yeah,
Somehow I doubt that.
exactly. So that was great. That was very informative. Like very simple way of just getting to know that what's going on in Parcel Fabric, especially having Esri's products over there, and that was great illustration of all that process. Thank you very much, Lisa. If there's not any other question, I might just wrap up the session. So yeah, I would like to thank all the participants for this session. And I hope that you will enjoy the rest of the conference. This is the last day, unfortunately, but yeah, we hope to see you again next year. And just again, wanted to make note that we have recorded this session, and then we will make the video available shortly afterward. But yeah, other than that, enjoy the rest of the conference, and have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.